Assalamu alaikum, young explorers. Today we embark on an adventure into the childhood story of Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam. The story titled The Burning Question is part of the Heavenly Children series. Let's delve into the pages of this book together. In a plain bare room, a class of students sat quietly on the ground, patiently waiting for their teacher to arrive. The simple room was decorated by a homely floor rug and muted curtains framing the doorway. At last, Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam entered. Every single student immediately rose to their feet. Out of respect for the Imam alayhi salam and teacher, they waited until he was seated before sitting back down themselves. As the Imam alayhi salam began his lesson, a little boy sat down right next to him in a room full of young men. It was a curious sight to see a young child there. All the students were listening to the Imam's words very carefully. All the students, except Mansoor and Safwan. The two kept whispering questions to each other, discussing something quietly but urgently. But they weren't discussing what they would do after class or what they did last night. No, they were discussing something they wanted to ask in class. Mansoor had a burning question, except he wasn't sure how to bring it up. Still, the question kept turning over in his mind. The Imam alayhi salam continued class, speaking graciously and softly, teaching the students what they needed to know to become closer and more obedient to Allah. His kind face and words reminded Mansoor what a nice, honorable person Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam was. Even the small child next to him was enjoying the words of the Imam alayhi salam. This gave Mansoor assurance. Maybe it will be okay to ask my question, Mansoor thought to himself. At that same moment, Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam turned to Mansoor and gave him a particularly compassionate look. It was almost as if he had read Mansoor's mind and was telling him, "Don't be afraid, be comfortable with me." Looking into the Imam's gentle eyes, Mansoor gained the courage to ask his burning question. Shyly, he looked down and began, "May my mother and father be sacrificed for you. You have taught us that every person will experience death." The Imam alayhi salam smiled and nodded, encouraging Mansoor to continue. The young child looked intently at Mansoor, eager to hear the question. "May I be sacrificed for you? When this happens to you, who will be the Imam after you?" The room became pin-drop silent. Nobody even dared to breathe. How would Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam respond? Mansoor looked around the room, and his eyes fell on his friend Safwan. Safwan gave him a friendly smile. They both felt relieved. Finally, Mansoor had been able to ask the question which had occupied him for so long. The Imam's face became brighter and the smile grew wider. The child next to the Imam alayhi salam also looked happy. It seemed as though the Imam alayhi salam had been waiting for his question. Mansoor felt even more relaxed. The Imam alayhi salam hugged the small boy next to him. "When death comes for me," he said, "this child, Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam, will be your Imam." The child looked lovingly at his father. The Imam alayhi salam caressed the child's head. Everyone looked at the child in awe. His young face was shining brighter than the moon. When Uṣūl looked at the satisfaction on all his classmates' faces, he realized that everyone had been wondering the same thing. Who would be their next Imam al-Islam? This made him even more glad to have asked such an important question. Now everyone knew who the next Imam would be. Young Imam Al-Kazim al-Islam stood up and went outside. Imam al-Sadiq al-Islam continued teaching his lesson. Shortly after the Imam al-Islam ended the class with the dua, he stood up, exited the room, and all the students followed him out to the yard. Outside, the young Imam Al-Kazim al-Islam was holding a stick in his hand. Using it as a cape, he gently nudged the sheep with the stick. "Hurry now," he said to the sheep. "We have to do sajda to Allah, who created us and takes care of us." All the companions stood around, grinning and laughing as they watched. They were so impressed that even while playing, this little boy constantly remembered Allah and even taught animals about how to worship Him. Imam al-Sadiq al-Islam walked towards the young Imam al-Islam and hugged and kissed him. The companions wanted to show their affection for the future Imam as well. One by one, they came forward and kissed Imam al-Kazim's hand. The students remained in the courtyard for some time, talking amongst themselves and enjoying the company of two Masumeen. After a while, they politely asked for permission to leave. The Imam al-Islam picked up his son and seated them on his shoulders. As the students left, Imam al-Sadiq al-Islam and his young son bid farewell to the students. Each of them left more satisfied than ever before. Hello friends, I trust you enjoyed today's story with me. Let's carry these valuable lessons on our individual journeys. Until our next adventure, happy reading, good night, and see you soon.